be with you again, Gonzalo.
I'm so thrilled that you're here, honestly, because we did for me, it was the most emotional interview, for real. And I've seen it at least 3 times, honestly. So I was really looking forward to interview you again. So thanks a lot, because I know you're very busy, and I appreciate a lot the time that you have coming here. Thanks a lot, for real.
It's my pleasure, and that's what my life is about, empowering people with the little knowledge that I have, or whatever I am. So I'm here to serve. So whatever serves.
That's insane. Thanks a lot.
And I'm so glad and grateful to hear that the last talk had such an impact on you.
Yeah.
And on me, of course, because it takes 2 to tango.
So I want to go through many different topics.
Yeah.
But maybe just to focus or to frame it a little bit, can you tell us what's in your mind like right now, so people will understand what are you up to and what is not in your head and what is in your head right now?
Well, thank you. We could go anywhere from here.
I'll frame it later, but
so on my mind is, again, how does artificial intelligence and the deep development in tech influences are going to impact us on this planet? So this is, the overarching purpose, which drew me to launch the integral investing initiative back 15 years ago, where the goal is to aggregate the necessary capital to make the transition to sustainability, to ensure the future of life on the planet. So it's a big mouth, but this is what I mean it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, from my perspective, capital doesn't go toward this major transformation that we need. And it's not actually transformation, it's a new paradigm that we need to go in, and we could talk about it.
Yeah.
Because we missed the train on so many areas in terms of, creating a sustainable world, blah, 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 according to the Club of Rome, for instance, limits to growth, that I grew up with, and you too. And
you're a member, actually, of the Club of Rome.
Exactly. And so what's next? How are we going to make it better and still get there? And what's happening behind the scene within this geopolitical craziness that we're currently encountering. So this is exactly, that's the thing that I'm focusing on right now.
That's great, because one of my first topics, it was going to be about AI, obviously.
Yeah.
And before jumping in what you were mentioning about the impact in the world and the risks, I think that is worth for some of the people who's listening to frame it again. So in order to frame it, what I proposed is just to go through different cases so people can understand the impact.
Sure.
So from my perspective, the most relevant cases relate to call centers, logistics, automations, and I can explain. So before, in a call center, you would have huge amount of people in a room taking calls, negotiating prices, customer support, handling like all types of claims. Now you would have an engine that, let's call it 11 Labs, for example, because it's like kind of the keystone right now. We'll see in 2 years or even 1 year, but so far it is. And then on top, you build something with your logic, right, that can answer those questions. That's for me one of the most relevant cases, also because being wider part of O2 Telefonica makes sense. But let's keep on evolving. Like, what are the cases you see, because you're also from deep tech and health, your view is more holistic. So like, what are all the cases that for you are super relevant in the field of AI? So first, just to mention some.
You mean in terms of the application for the everyday life and how that's impacting our work?
Yeah.
And jobs?
Yeah. In terms of what do you invest that you see is revolutionizing a sector? Because in here, all these people that were working before in call centers, they will be gone at some point. There will be 1 or 2 people just supervising most of the calls, and at some point even AI will supervise the AIs. So this is probably gone. Huge impact. This will be disrupted. Let's build on more. What are all the other cases in different areas that you're seeing that are being completely disrupted by AI?
Well, I would like to frame that within the context that we started with,
Okay.
and in the context within which I am active.
That makes sense.
So let me frame that. So we missed the train in terms of aligning ourselves with the planetary boundaries. What does it mean? And we're now so being distracted from the planetary problems by all kinds of AI and geopolitical and wars and geopolitical craziness, that we need to bring that into the center point, because the planet doesn't give us more time just because we missed the train to adapt and respond to the planetary boundaries. What is that? There are 9 planetary boundaries, climate change being one of them. The other is water, the other is biodiversity, and so on. And there, out of the 9, 6 up to 7 have been missed. So they're already responding. And so that has a huge impact in terms of climate, and we see it's all getting hotter. We get all the earthquakes and the floodings and so on. So this is the context within which you're having this conversation. So when you're asking me in terms of the immediate impact of AI, in terms of our jobs and the companies and the the economy works within the context of the bigger picture. So we cannot take that one slice and say, oh, my job, I've been doing telephone, coaching, or not only just responding, about the next phone and blah, 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 but, about human life and human happiness. It's being impacted by what's happening on the outside. So we need to make sure that within the context of everything that we're doing, that we're responding in some way or the other to that. And this is what I am focusing on. This is why we're having this conversation. You're having it with me. What does that mean? Let me give you an example. What does the planet want from us? And this is scientifically proven. It's been around, we have the Paris Agreement, whether you agree or not. The science is clear. I'm a scientist, and I'm going to use the argumentation with that. How can we go back to safe planetary boundaries within the context of the economic situation that we're having? We need to reduce the CO2 emissions and other green gas houses emissions. And we just finished the new analysis. The population is growing on the planet, and with that, and the largest countries, and I'm going to publish a paper within the next 2 weeks on this, we keep, emanating green gas houses. So we're not making progress on that. But this is the first and foremost thing that needs to happen. Now, if you look at the economic impact of our activities, there are 3 sectors of economic activity that are responsible for 90% of the CO2 and green gas house emissions. It's energy, mobility, and food. So 90%, if we shift, and this is, I'm a business angel investor. I don't manage, massive amount of capital.
You were awarded the best business angel, actually. One of the years you had an award on that.
I have several awards, and best is is a function of, what do I deem is best. But some people get that. So if you look at the energy sector and this comes back and ties deeply in with the AI question that you had, because we are going to, please remind me to go into that. So energy is responsible for, 72%. It's a huge amount of, and the numbers, vary. Depends what we're going. AI now is even making it worse. But then transportation and food. So if we want to make the jump from the paradigm that we failed to implement, we failed to build. Germany left the nuclear energy production like 11 years ago, 2000, when I was 11 years ago or something, without implementing, heterogeneous network. And I invested in a company. My husband started it, where we wanted to build using software a smart grid where you can feed heterogeneous sources of energy into the existing one, that is gas and coal and so on. But all this. And I need to slow down because it's very complex. So people are used to switching on the light and then it turns on, right?
Yep.
So the energy production, the grid, they need to make sure that they plan for the energy to be available within 15 minutes. So, but the sun only shines, during the day sometimes, water energy is different. Wind doesn't go all the time. So you have a very heterogeneous sources of energy that needs to be fed into one grid, let alone that we did not build the grid. The Germans did not build the grid.
I thought this was for sure integrated already.
No, it's not.
Wow.
It's not. And so actually we started this company in 2010. 4 years we exited. It was a great investment for us, but the politics did everything to prevent us from providing that grid, a smart grid that would provide the load balancing, with different sources.
Yeah.
So that was a company called Intelios. It was sold
Intelios.
Intelios, yeah. So that was one thing that I did back then, and the political landscape in Germany didn't allow us to make it possible, and they didn't wake up to it. So energy, we failed this goal. The old paradigm is failing. Although the prices are going down, we have failed to build a grid that is sustainable. Now we're moving back to, we got out of nuclear, but
Coal.
we're buying nuclear energy from the French because why? People need energy. Civilization needs energy, and we haven't planned for it. So that's a big problem, which we have in Germany, but also America, given the AI. By 2028, they will have a massive energy crisis, according to research, because they need 92 gigawatts more energy by then, in order to fulfill the needs that AI and all the new development are making. So we are heading toward a big problem. Okay? So energy, we need to do something about the energy. Now, the good news, we failed in the past, in the old paradigm, but there is a new paradigm coming. And Germany and the Europeans and the Americans, they get it, and that's fusion energy. Fusion energy, but we're not there yet.
Okay.
So, because you asked me what I've been able, and they took us, Proxima Fusion, they took us business angels as investors because of what we do and our network and so on. But the good news is that the government and the EU, and they are all putting tons and hundreds of millions of dollars into developing fusion energy.
Okay.
However, Proxima Fusion, to stick with the example, they will be going live with the first demonstrator, they call it, 2031. So the question is,
we have a gap.
Are we going to keep the political situation such that, there won't be any wars, that we keep giving the people the energy they need in order to grow and put food on their table? Grow in terms of, I don't want the Green Party thing, grow is bad. No, unsustainable growth is bad, right? But we need to put food on people's table. Is nature going to sustain us up until we shift? So fusion energy is the paradigm shift there. Now the next sector that in which I invested in also is food.
Can I ask you before we
Yes.
jump into food? Can you explain a bit more the concept of energy fusion? Because it's unclear to me, and I guess it would be unclear for some of the people listening. So can you explain how that works? How does that generate energy?
Well, it's plasma. It's a
Okay.
plasma reactor,
Okay.
and they have Proxima Fusion have a concept that's called the stellarator, where they use artificial intelligence and quantum information science to
Okay.
modulate. They're building this stellarator. They were born originally from the concept of a tokamak, like a round, like a donut with
Okay.
the plasma went in circles, and they discovered that by building a more flexible, like a stellarator, they call it, a better system, more flexible system that they simulate using artificial intelligence, of course, and quantum information and quantum algorithms, they can reach faster the production of fusion energy through plasma. So it's yeah.
How big is this? Like this dome?
It's huge. We have actually one you can, I'm sure they will give us. So actually for our listeners and those who are investors who are interested in this, they should go, they can demonstrate. So they're here in Garching, and they're not building it in Garching, but there is a demonstrator that, the old system, how it's being handled.
And when is ready to production, like how big should this, because I imagine it like a proper building, like the Apple headquarters, that is like kind of a, is it something like that, or is it?
Oh, it's going to be huge. I cannot give you the numbers.
Or?
Oh yeah, of course. It's going to be huge. I think they built it in the name escapes in northern Germany.
Okay.
Yeah, and also they have several partners. Actually, why don't you invite Francesco Sciortino to your podcast?
I will be
he is the
pleased.
founder. I'd be happy to make the introduction, and he can give you the details before I go and ramble. He can give you the exact details, how big this is, and
if he's
so
patient enough to explain me everything, I would love to hear.
He's brilliant. Trust me, he's brilliant. They have wonderful partnerships in the UK. And they're being supported by the EU and the German government big time. So
Thank God that we use the public money for something.
Absolutely. So I'm so thrilled.
That's great. Okay, then I interrupted you when you were talking about food. You were going to talk about food now. Because you were talking about energy, then you cover the situation. Now you were going to jump into food.
Yeah, well, the agricultural systems in food production, they request a lot of, provide a lot of CO2 emissions.
Yeah.
Of course, as we know, meat production and agriculture in general. And so the paradigm shift is, because, we cannot count on the climate to remain such that we will be able to continue food production outdoors as we have in the past, unfortunately. So we need to keep in mind that whatever we're doing, we need to shift the sectors of society to a different paradigm.
That's that's exactly what I bring you here. Because you see, I'm so into what business case, what is the margin, how are we improving productivity, blah, 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 that sometimes and I'm sure it's not only me, we need someone like you to say, guys, do you realize that you're living in a world that is finite? And if we don't take care of this, all of this productivity, stupid stuff, of course, it's great in terms of technicalities and everything, but it's like, it's gone. Then I
Wake
don't care.
Wake up.
That's why you're here. So I love it. So it's great that you were like, wait, let me tell you what's going on, and then we can continue. So thanks for it.
Yeah, well, the beauty about this is we missed the train. That's the bad news. But the beauty about, and the reason why I'm involved with you guys and people like you get it. The young generation, you guys get it. You have the solutions. The entrepreneurs know. They have studied. I mean, when I meet with these PhDs, like another company that I want to talk about, when we go to quantum and quantum algorithms.
We'll cover it.
Kipu Quantum. I mean, in that organization, like 30 PhDs,
yeah, it's insane.
It's like, insane. Oh my God, you guys get it. So what does it take for us, older generation, to really support you and give you whatever it's needed, you need, to shift to the next paradigm, because that's what we must do. We missed the train. I mean, look at the ridiculous, auto exhibition that we just did, right? So, and people who are, oh, I've been with blah blah company for 35 years. Well, you're responsible for what happened and why we don't have in Germany, the biggest company in auto making, we don't have what we need, right? Because you guys are sitting on those ideas and you killed good ideas by young people because you wanted to sit on your old paradigm. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this all is because the same thing is happening in agriculture. And I remember at one of our moonshot events on integral investing, we had the agriculture minister of Bavaria sitting next to Auguste von Bayern and at the table. And she turned to him and she said, well, one thing that you need to tell your farmers is that the food in 10 years is going to come from Google Labs. And for Google Labs, that was representative for, precision fermentation, which is the food, the new paradigm in food, and cellular agriculture, where you create...
I've seen it, meat. You can create meat from the cells in a tank.
Exactly.
And you create without
protein,
animals.
and not just a cow and pork and blah, 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 but all kinds of proteins. And you don't need to fish empty the oceans. You can create the fish protein. This is, because the oceans are growing warmer, the life in the ocean, it's full of plastic, let alone, what else is happening there. So that's dying. And we already know that there isn't enough fish in the ocean. But with cellular agriculture, we provide, and precision fermentation, which is, I will explain afterwards, we can provide the food necessary to feed, 8 billion people and growing the population.
In a healthy way.
In a healthy way. It's not a question of whether I like it or not. Are we going to survive or not until we build the new, whatever infrastructure economy of the future that we need, what I call this solar age economy.
Solar age economy.
Yeah, because, fusion energy is exactly what the sun does. That's the same way, the sun produces energy. When without the sun, we wouldn't be alive.
Yeah.
And that's why, that's the solar age, where the energy is coming from, and then all the other paradigm shifts that are happening in other industries. Now, let me go to, we talked about cellular agriculture, and precision fermentation is also something that has been around in humans have been doing this for thousands of years. Beer brewing has been around,
True.
And I understand when people don't like, so I'm not going to have my salad. Yes, you will have your salad, but, talk to the planet whether it allows you to have the salad outdoors or indoors.
Yeah.
So precision fermentation.
I've seen, by the way, just a small note, I've seen many companies in this sector, and I think it's so interesting. I'm remembering Infinite Roots. Do you know them from Berlin? The guy Mazen, you should meet him. You will like each other instantly. And they're building this. They have like more than 1,000 cells of different types of mushrooms. And then basically they can replicate it super quickly. And they can, of course, build food, but they can also build fake leather. They can build clothing. They can build materials. And it's like deep research, of course. Yes. And I don't know how many PhDs they have, but a lot. He's also a biotech guy. And they're building it in tanks, and they're like, mushrooms? You cannot imagine how many things you can do with this.
Yes.
It's like, wow. I mean, we're infants in the sector of food. We're infants. Like, we have so many possibilities. It's insane. Yeah.
And the beauty about this, one example that people can relate to, because when you talk to those who actually should have made the transition feasible, is the green meme, what I call the green meme, but they didn't. Because they're so split in silos, and they're not talking to one another. So they say no before they say yes. One thing that gets everybody is not just the beer, but insulin. We all know people who, and given the way how our lifestyle works, have diabetes. So up until in mid-70s, do you know how many thousands of animals you had to kill to get a half a kilogram or a liter of insulin?
No idea.
20,000.
What?
Yeah. And then precision fermentation stepped in and produced the artificial insulin that, we're using right now that costs nothing. right? It's a technology that's been around forever, right? So that's take this further to the mushrooms and to the other, foods that we are going to eat and are currently eating. You can go to Edeka and you get the stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course the mobility, and I'm not invested in mobility right now, but I don't need to tell you, robo taxis and transport as a service is what we actually need. We don't need each one a cart and have a parking lot in the street, and this is all software driven, technology driven, and AI driven.
Yeah.
So that's a completely new. But these three sectors, if we manage to transition them, are going to eliminate 90% of the CO2 and green gases. But one thing that is important, so we're not done with that. And it all can be done. If we manage this transition by 2035, we will go net zero neutral. But we need to do it. But with that, we're not done. We need to do the, take all the CO2 that we put already, that is already existing in the atmosphere through, and sequester it. So we have a lot of work along those lines.
Okay.
Sorry for the long answer.
I love it. I love it. And I think you covered really well and really well structured. So you can tell that you're a scientist and you cover the points with the examples and the situation. So it's great. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about mobility because you just mentioned, but we didn't dive a bit deeper into it. So in the States, probably you've been recently, Waymo and others, probably Uber at some point will jump in, stronger Tesla with the robotaxi, etc. So you envision that as the future of mobility, meaning we won't have any vehicle probably, unless you're a collectionist maybe of some vehicles. Then you just take your app, you call it Tesla, you call it Uber, you call it whatever, Waymo, you order, you get your taxi, you go to Bongin House, and that's it. Is that how you envision? Therefore, all the parking lots are over, and then the cars are always running around, so you can pick them up and leave them.
Park themselves when they're not needed and go when they're being... Yeah, it's a question. It's not... I wish it was a question of wanting it. I think it's we must. If we are really serious about, addressing the planet and not, building, some satellite around Earth where the rich are going to be and, like in the movie, and the planet here is burned, all the beauty that we have today, we forget about it. Then we have to go in that direction. And the beauty about this, why it's currently occurring with Waymo and Tesla and Uber and others, not only your generation doesn't want to own a car, most of you don't. And if you have some, you can rent a Porsche if you want to drive one. But for daily lives, have a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
Right? You have to enjoy life. You don't want to enjoy life. Don't know, put it in a car or something. And it's an old paradigm.
Yeah.
So, but the reason we're going there is because it's cheaper. And all of these new technologies, the energy and so on, are occurring because it's cheaper. Maybe not in all of them.
That's a great point.
Cellular agriculture is not, but in a couple of years it will be. So to have all the proteins and so on lined up, it's financially feasible. And where the capital flows, life follows. So that's what's currently happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great point because this point, the system as it is now will understand.
Yes.
Like, you know what? It's just cheaper, period.
Exactly.
So you will buy it for 30, 40K. And then it will be giving you money as well because it would be rented. And then you can go alone, charge at home, then charge at the low point, go back at the low point of the energy, you go back out. So, yeah, that's great.
It's financially feasible. That's why it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then if we take a look then at the risks of AI, I wanted to ask you because you and maybe many of the people who's listening have been listening to this quotes about how AI is going to take over the world, how it's going to destroy the world. And they were not referring about the planet in this case, but normally they're referring about we have a super intelligence that is way clever than us. And then when we will be controlled by it, there's no turning back. What's your take on this? Like, do you think there would be a supra AI intelligence that would be like, these humans are so dumb that makes no sense for them to live anymore? Like, how do you envision that? Is there anything that you think about at all?
Of course I do, for many, many reasons. Well, first of all, I love Star Trek. And so all this thinking that is currently being, or the systems that are currently being implemented have been already thought through by much smarter people than I am, and are happening. Let me take a... Yeah. So yes, to answer your question, yes. We will have artificial superintelligence. We will have artificial general intelligence, which is the previous where we're going right now. And we will all have our data. Yeah. From Star Trek and all the computers that are supporting us. Now, will we be able to guide that in a positive direction? It's all up to us. It's just as simple as that. And I think when we talk about will they be smarter, will they be superior to humans? No. Okay. Why? Because we are not just cognitive intelligence. We are so much more. I am a student of the integral theory. I invite people to go deeper into it. And they have identified, and people, Howard Gardner from Harvard identified several types of intelligence. I think Howard Gardner came up with 11 or 12 last time I looked. So cognitive intelligence, this is what we currently have in AI. A lot of knowledge. And we could go into the details as to how this knowledge was acquired, blah, 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 what kind of knowledge that is. Is it deep? Is it not deep? What is missing? Blah, blah, blah. But if you play with your own ChatGPT or Perplexity AI, blah, 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 be aware of the fact that all the information or that they are regurgitating has been in the public domain. And that's where it's coming from. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is wise or that it is an advice that you should be following, right? That's a good point. And so that's the cognitive intelligence. And then we have the emotional intelligence. And I watched Sam Altman being told that he should turn on again the emotional reaction or, handling of ChatGPT-4, I think, because people were missing it and they fell in love with the AI. Well, get a life.
A good point.
Okay, if you think that, you're going to fall, and I understand the need. It's so easy to fall in love with a movie character. I mean, I'm sure I fall in love with Roger Moore back then, and Richard, what's his name, Pierre Brosnan, who actually looks much, much better, in person than in the movie. And I met him and his wife, and they're just amazing people. So I can relate to that. But come on, get a life. So dig deeper into who you are as a human being. And then, of course, we have spiritual intelligence, psychological intelligence. And, there are many others. And I don't want to go into, I got my PhD on this, so we could talk about this later. But be aware as a human being that this is cognitive intelligence. And of course, they're trying to mimic emotional, they're trying to mimic spiritual, but realize it's not real. I just told you when we came here that I attended the Science of Consciousness conference in Barcelona this summer, where everybody and their brother in this field came. And so it's a very, very interesting topic and conversation. And I'm currently reading Roger Penrose's book, where he describes the first time he identified, he started thinking about consciousness and whether that exists or not, and what's the correlation between how consciousness arises from, is it from matter, or was it there? Is it fundamental, or does it arise in matter? Which is exactly what I think Elon Musk would tell you, and many others. So it's an interesting conversation that we could have in terms of AI.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a bit scared that we're switching too much, but at the same time, it's such an interesting topic that I think we can dive in a little bit, because does conscious exist? This triggers another question. I mean, this triggers several questions, but I think that the one that I'm most interested about is the theory of the simulation. So we've seen that we can, and for sure we will arrive to a point that we might no longer differentiate what's real, what's not, in terms of we only perceive with our senses, and our senses are a bit limited in the sense that they're, I don't know how to explain it in a scientific way, but it's like I don't know if it's real or not because I'm only perceiving stuff. So I don't have an outside proof of what everything is real because I'm only perceiving stuff. So if my perception senses are changed or are manipulated, I will not know if this is reality or this is a simulation. And then if you're the layer on top that we live in a place where if you need to take it, you can take it.
No, I need to stop it from I'm sorry.
No rush. That's why the simulation theory doesn't want us to talk about this now.
No. Do you know what this is?
What is it?
Because we're talking about consciousness. Is every 15 minutes I have a mindfulness bell that reminds me of who I am.
Every 15 minutes?
Every 15 minutes, it's a mindfulness bell, because we're talking about the topic is just...
Yeah.
It fits. So who are you?
What? Every 15 minutes and you get mad about it?
Meditate. You're for 1 second like, yeah, that's why. Who are you? Are you your perception, your feelings? Are you the six senses that evolution has given you in order to make sure that you survive until you have children? You know, that's the original. And then you die. Is that who you are? Or is there maybe something else?
Who are you then? How do you define who are you from your limited perspective?
Oh my God. Well, who are you?
I ask first.
Okay. So are you the one who's having this conversation, or are you the one who's observing everything?
I mean, you're the one, you're both. You're both.
You're smart. Yes.
I'm just everything that I'm perceiving.
Okay.
Everything where I put my attention on and I'm perceiving.
So when you stop perceiving because you're dying or dead, what's going to happen to the observer?
Goes with me? I don't know.
Is it still there or not? Well, that's something that we should be pondering. And that's exactly why I'm reading Roger Penrose's book, because, I've been meditating for 45 years. I know that I'm not this, I'm that.
Okay.
I know
You're
that.
the observer.
Yes, I know that.
You are the observer.
Yeah.
But is this observer shared by everyone? Or is
Yes.
So it's like
That's
kind of a
God.
collective conscious. God.
That's what people in all religion call God. And they tried, humanity has been trying to find a way back to God and find sense in this life, through God. You can use it, Gonzalez, Gonzalo, whatever. Mariana, I don't care what name you give it, Peter.
Okay.
But, so what was it before the Big Bang, basically?
So this, let's call it then common conscious or something like that. This is...
It's called unity consciousness.
Unity consciousness.
Yeah, and that's what people who have studied this, and I did too, and there are many, many philosophers. I highly recommend the work of Donald Hoffman. He's a cognitive scientist, University of Irvine, who, from my perspective, he's been studying the most advanced in this field.
Okay, then... And
it makes a lot of sense to me. I also... wait, let's not mix up, because I could talk about, what Roger Penrose says to this topic.
Okay, we might need... So, to just buckle it up with what we were saying before, so I was mentioning about this simulation theory, right?
Yes.
So basically, that what we live is what we perceived,
Right.
and therefore, because the technology will come up to a point that it would be so good that you are not able to distinguish what's what, we would be able to simulate something that who's there in that simulation will think is real. So
We're already doing it.
we're already doing it. So it's like, why not? Why are we real and not a part of a simulation? Because especially if you extrapolate the like all the habitable planets that are only in our galaxy, we can fill up the entire Rome Coliseum with little blue marbles, right? I saw that video on TikTok. It's insane. So, and then if you extrapolate it to the universe, to the observable universe, we could add up galaxies filled with habitable planets, and we're talking about billions and trillions of habitable planets. So it's like probably someone else already got to a point of technology that is so advanced that it could simulate life. Therefore, why aren't we that simulation? Why is this real, and what's real? No? And what if, okay, let's assume that then the simulation is happening. So what? What's the difference then? Is there any difference?
Yeah, well, Bostrom says that we are in a simulation, and then there is a simulation, so it turtles all the way down, right?
Okay.
So, and we all have seen the movie Matrix, and, you know, so I recently saw Star Trek, I think it was episode 12 in the number 6
This season?
session. So where it's exactly that, where, they played with it in the mid-90s, Roddenberry did. And Donald Hoffman, for instance, he says that there is only one simulation, and this is the simulation that occurred after the Big Bang, where before the Big Bang is the, whatever it is that people call God,
Okay.
not an old man with a beard, but, something.
Okay.
Right? And then the Big Bang occurred, and then we had this duality, created, the material world, the space-time continuum, and where everything is manifesting, where, evolution takes place and, creates you and me, and, and that's how we then learned what it takes, all the senses, perceptions, emotions, and feelings in order to survive, have children, and then you die. So that's the simulation. And you need the duality in order to see, to perceive anything. Otherwise, if you don't have that day and night, or, the duality, you don't even see, you're back in before the Big Bang. But in order for God, and that's now what the older traditions say, like Buddhism and so on, in order for God to perceive itself, it had to create the Big Bang, space-time continuum. Now, if you look beyond that, if you talk to scientists, Nima Arkani, Hamed, and others, they are questioning now the space-time notion,
Okay.
because they have discovered structures beyond
The double slit
the
pyramid.
space and time, right? So there is something else next, and so we don't know. So, but right now they are questioning space-time in terms of the hypotheses and theories. So, anyways,
I think we're getting into quantum, by the way.
and so, but this is an important conversation within the quantum, within the AI field, and quantum, and the combination thereof, quantum information science, not just LLMs. Because when people hear AI, they think of LLMs, but LLMs is only half of the, or less than. They're becoming, the LLMs that could have been built have been built or are being built.
Yeah.
And now we're moving toward agentic AI and, quantum information science with AI, where we use mathematical formulae in order to stop them from hallucinating. Otherwise, we can get our own polymaths, which is all we want.
Yeah. To do this transition from AI to quantum, if even makes sense to talk about the transition between AI and quantum, I will explain you the notion that I have about this, and you please correct me and explain it the right way. So what I understand of the difference between AI and quantum, of the applications of AI and quantum right now, is that if you need to get a high level of accuracy of something that you're doing because it's critical, and normally we're talking about health, right, and things like that, and you need to go beyond 95, 97% accuracy even on what you're doing, you will need something that doesn't hallucinate and that is more solid than AI. Because sometimes to get to a 90% accuracy on something, it's easy. But the moment you're getting closer to 100%, it gets tougher and tougher and tougher. I always think of a marathon. Like, it's easy to run a marathon in X time, but if you want to go lower than 3 hours 30, every minute that you scratch is a pain, is a lot of training. So I imagine similar with AI and quantum. No, every bit of percentage that you want to be closer to perfection of your of the running of your algorithms is going to cost you more effort, more time, more energy. So quantum is like, AI is okay. You want something that doesn't hallucinate and will give you a precise answer, then you need to come to me. You need to come to quantum, because it's the fastest and more powerful technology we have. Is that the case? Am I missing something in this? I'm sure I'm missing many things, but...
Well, no. Well, like with everything in our conversations, there isn't just one statement. There's a whole spectrum of things that we could talk. And yes, for instance, when it comes to security systems, that's exactly where you're, where I'm interested in ensuring that we save democracy. And that's where quantum and quantum information systems are being applied currently to ensure our security. And I think, I'm not sure we talked about it last time, but GPS, for instance, has been hijacked.
We talked about it in an event, but we didn't talk about it in an interview.
Okay.
But please explain it, because it's such a great example. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So Finnair, last time I looked, they stopped flying toward, Baltic countries because the Russians are distorting their GPS system, so they cannot navigate. And it's happened recently again with some other. Anyways, and that's the same thing that happens with ships, presumably, that are approaching China, and so because they want to control everything. So GPS is no longer, which, by the way, GPS works on land only, is no longer reliable because of all the geopolitical piece that we currently have. Now, what are alternative systems? And that's where quantum and artificial intelligence in combination are coming into play. Because there you can build systems that cannot be spoofed, they cannot be distorted. So, and I'm not going to go into the details as to how it's done. One thing is quantum security systems work based on the, how should I say, the landscape that has been, how should I say, every single square meter on the planet has its own signature based on the metals that are, that are to be found in that area.
Okay.
So with that, you have like an imprint, like with the fingerprint for every single a square meter. And there are some systems that have been developed based on that. Now, this is when you are traveling, let's say, from a plane, and over every single area, you have a system, electrons that are basically being pushed down and try to find out, where am I flying over? Or underwater, for instance, other than GPS, that works underwater as well, because the planet has all kinds of minerals and, molten core and, iron and so on. And so that provides a very accurate landscape that can be used with quantum technology to find out where you are, and then with artificial intelligence to work with the amazing amount of data that comes, in response to the electrons that are that are being used to identify where one is. So, and that provides a much, much better navigation system than GPS.
That's such a great example. I love it. It's also because this. I want to understand a little bit the difference when you're saying I'm pushing down the electrons. I thought that the navigation is so precise because the qubits are so. Let's say they're so special, or they're so responsive to the magnetic footprint of the Earth, that they will react immediately to the different meter squares in the planet up to the point that they can where you are because of the reaction of the qubit. But I didn't understand how.
Not the qubit; it's electrons,
Okay,
actually.
it's electrons.
But and how that really works, it's not known because it's a security system.
Okay.
And how that really is being implemented, I can only tell you, how the electrons, when they're pushed down and then they come back, and the difference between, the response of the electron gives you a direct feedback to where the area where you are at.
Wow.
A difference in terms of amplitude.
Wow.
But don't ask me more because it's not known, actually.
It's just insane because it's not only how far you are from the land, it's like which specific part of the land you are at the meter, at 1 meter.
Yes, it's very, very accurate.
It's like,
that's
a great
an
example.
application. Quantum security is a huge application of quantum technology combined with AI. So the term here is quantum information science.
Okay.
It's not, and it's not large language models. The opposite is large quantitative models, because it uses, you can imagine, in calculating where you are at, you use mathematical formulae. Otherwise, you couldn't, be accurate, and you have to be when navigating.
Yeah.
So that's large quantitative models that are currently being developed.
Insane.
So that's why LLMs have, everyone in Meta and Grok and blah, 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 they're all developing LLMs, but they're all moving now toward further implementation of, agentic application, real world usage of artificial intelligence.
And there in your portfolio, you have Kipu. Kipu Quantum that you mentioned briefly before.
Yes.
That they're also working. They have probably one of the best compression algorithms.
Yes, and maybe we should talk a little bit about the difference between traditional algorithms and quantum algorithms. Yep. So traditional algorithms work with zeros and ones, we all know, and it's a traditional computer, blah, blah, blah. So we all know how traditional algorithms work. And
up to a point, because if you scratch deeper, I don't know how my computer does. I know that it's something there, but let's
well, we have applications, so in order to develop any kind of application, whether, whatever we're doing, recording, you have to have an algorithm that does that. And how that's being translated, and we have, I don't know how many, where was the first computer developed? I don't know, 70, 80 years, 100 years ago. So we have a lot of experience. Now, quantum algorithms, they work not on zeros and ones. They work on on qubits. They don't have bits. They have qubits. And qubits are they use two qualities of quantum computing, namely entanglement. They're entangled, and superposition. So before you measure, and there are many ways of discussing this, what measurement means, but you then have, until you measure, you have many, many states and positions that a qubit can take, or a qubit can take. Mm-hmm. Now, there are several algorithms, like the Shor algorithm, that is being developed that helps develop, for factorization, which is the 90, the 5% of the 100, to make it a system more accurate. Factorization. Mm-hmm. How do I create a better, or discover what is the code with which you saved your money, and I can access it and steal it.
So I brute force codes until I get the right one.
Exactly. Or then what is the other? I think it's Shor and what was the other? Grover's algorithm that helps do unstructural searches. So this is a completely different way of developing algorithms that work on quantum computers. Now, before I go into how the algorithms work on quantum computers, we need to understand that quantum computers don't exist yet.
Yeah.
So in order for a quantum computer to operate in normal levels that we have a normal computer, we would need minimum a million qubits, right? But they don't exist. So the largest quantum computers that exist, is IBM and several others, they have about 1,500 qubits.
Already 1,500.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Around 1,500. There are several that are. Now, given the algorithms that we just talked about, Shor's algorithm and Grove's algorithm, I think it was called, then how can we develop software for those computers? That's the big question now, because you want to use it. Why are computers so important in quantum computers? Why is so much capital going toward the development of quantum computer? We mentioned already the security. That's one big thing. But also all the data that governments have collected, companies, all the knowledge of the world is secured by, in traditional systems, right? And because of the geopolitical situation, and we've been spying all along, even in times of peace, people are collecting data right now until a quantum computer is available to, look at what is the content of the data, to decrypt it, decrypt it. So that's why there is such a run toward the development of quantum algorithms, and quantum solutions. But we will continue to have traditional algorithms, traditional computers, because they're much better in several other areas. Quantum computers are important for the security and communication and others. Now, we mentioned Kipu Quantum and how. Am I making sense? Because this is very.
No, I think it's difficult to understand all along because you need to know. I feel that you need to know a little bit, even if it's a small base, to properly understand. But I think if someone wants to dig deeper and they listen to what you're saying, they can maybe pause it, go check a little bit of some information maybe, and then go.
Well, feel free to ask questions more.
But for me, it's okay so far. But I've been also looking at it for some time, so I feel that I'm not maybe in the same level of understanding than others, but I think it's good enough because I think we're getting to the conclusion of why so much is going to quantum, and then so keep going because I will stop you anyway.
Yeah. So we talked before about the crisis that we're heading, and in terms of food, electricity, and so on. And that also has an impact on the health of us, of citizens. And we all know that Demis Hassabis received the Nobel Prize for protein folding, AlphaFold. Why is that important? Proteins are extremely important, and protein folding in developing new medications, new medicine, new materials, even, not protein folding, but even protein folding when you are creating clothing out of algae, that's the level that you're working on. And so now the protein folding algorithm has been developed on traditional computers, high power computers, but it happened there. Now, my big heroes from Kipu Quantum, starting with Enrique Solano. He developed algorithms, and the entire company have developed algorithms on existing quantum computers that are as good as the protein folding that was demonstrated, on traditional computers. So just to give you an example, you guys, young, smart, PhDs, young people, entrepreneurs, are so far ahead that they're using existing qubits, the small numbers of qubits in quantum computers, to develop algorithms that are actually performing better than the ones developed on traditional computers. Well, imagine what the impact of that means. Imagine, even before we have the big quantum computers, we can perform protein folding using fast algorithms, develop new security systems on small qubits, not just the huge ones, because the algorithms, the quantum algorithms, have already been developed. So this is a huge, huge, huge impact. So those of the listeners who are, should check Kipu Quantum, and the amazing, watch the videos with Enrique Solano, who talks about his algorithms and
he's
how
a really
that
good
works.
speaker as well.
He's an excellent speaker, and but they are all using the qualities of quantum physics, entanglement and superposition and so on. So that's so important for the future. Why? Because we can develop new materials already with quantum computers. We can develop new financial planning systems. We can develop new new proteins because the algorithms exist and the computer exists and they're workable today.
This protein folding that you mentioned, I would like to maybe just dig deep a little bit on it, because it's hard for me to understand how it actually works. And when I think of protein folding, I'm thinking of a kind of a massive A/B testing to test if something is reactive or not to some bacteria or
Yes.
virus. So in that sense, what I imagine, and correct me, is that let's try to prove trial and error all these different combinations of different proteins to see if I can fight cancer,
Yes.
for example. And up to a point, if I have power enough, I will come to a combination that will be able to fight this particular cancer. Is that the case?
Yes, that's exactly the type of application. And
That's insane.
It is insane. And one very important factor in this is that every single cancer, for instance, is individual. So that's one of the, So that's one of the biggest impacts of, protein, folding and these algorithms, because you can adapt, the medication, to personalize it for the particular environment. So,
There's no one vaccine. There should be one vaccine per each.
There are, of course, there are many cancer solutions, but every single vaccines, I don't know that they exist, but treatment, every single user responds differently to the treatment because of the environment. We come back to the environment. It's not just the planet, it's our own environment. And that's exactly, you nailed it, that's exactly the impact of that.
Yeah. I'm also on a completely different level. I'm thinking of the impact on the stock market. Like, if now the algorithm trading is already super developed, then there is a quantum algorithm trading.
Yeah.
But then I cannot even envision how that will impact in the stock market, because I'm not even able to understand. Because at some point,
just to give you an example, I have a friend who actually, he worked in Chicago, I think, and because the trading happens in hundreds of milliseconds, they built a huge line from New York to Chicago in order to get those, the data earlier, a couple of milliseconds. So this is the impact of, this is on the financial system, so financial planning and so on. This is speculation, of course. This is the system that we have.
This
and
is
the technology. If you look at what's currently happening in terms of maybe we want to shift to the data center example and energy and the energy system. I don't know how much time we have. I don't want to.
No, I don't want. I know I'm stealing your time, and you have some more meetings today. But I just briefly let's skip most of the things, because I wanted to cover that basically your portfolio is divided in deep tech and health, and then actually we cover through the interview.
We did. We did already.
Going
the
through
portfolio.
the topics. I just wanted to know a bit more about Roofline because it got my attention. Like, could you explain a little more about them?
No, I can't.
Why so?
Well, because it's because they're currently fundraising,
Okay.
and so I don't want to go
You don't
into
want
the
to-
details. But it's basically agentic AI, and providing better solutions for actually better. Extraordinary, I should say, not just better, extraordinary compilers for, agentic
Yeah, I found it
solutions.
really interesting when I read about them. And
Yeah, they're amazing. Roofline, I'm a big fan.
I just wanted to then to finalize. I just wanted to go over through something that I realized related to culture. So this is a bit different. But what I realized is that this image of the entrepreneur, the scientist, even, and this thinking out of the box, thinking of the impact of the planet, is constantly being mocked by society in many different ways. So at least, and then you need to put the tag that I have, the tag that I'm Spanish. So I have that tag on me. So I know that the Spanish culture in general is we tend to mock about everything and to make fun of everything, right?
That's better than being critical.
Yes
like
and
the
no.
Germans.
Yes and no. Because then I think that many people don't jump into entrepreneurship, scientists, or everything because it's like, oh, yeah, you're so cool. You're thinking so out of the box.
Oh,
You're
that's
changing-
cynicism.
Yeah. The line with sense
It's
of
not
humor and
irony,
cynicism.
it's cynicism.
You think is that also present in Germany or in US? What my question is, what are the cultural differences, kind of the barriers that you've seen in culture in this area that you've perceived because you've also been a lot of time in US and in here? Is there a huge difference that you perceive there in that sense of?
Yeah, the Germans are extremely cautious.
Okay. Too cautious then?
Too cautious. Yeah, because it's just like any big culture that is deindustrializing, which is the German. German culture is currently falling apart.
Uh-huh.
And so within that, because I can give you another example, unfortunately, as to demonstrate other than the Antelios example of the smart grid. I'm a computer scientist, studied artificial intelligence 40 years ago, and I know the importance of data centers, for digitalization, for the future. And I invested, and we had this first ISP company that went public, internet company that went public on the German stock exchange in the mid-90s.
Great story.
And now we needed in Germany COVID, 30, 25 years later, in order to awaken to the fact that, oh my God, we should have digitalized before, right? All of a sudden, it was possible to pay with your phone. Now try to go downtown Germany, Munich, and try to pay with your phone, your coffee. It's almost impossible because people went back to that. But during COVID, they realized, oh my God, I don't have internet access at home. My kid doesn't have a computer or any kind of interface to do remote learning and so on. So that's a German thing. Now, in terms of, we knew that AI is coming, blah, blah, blah. And because of the CO2 emissions and we need to decarbonize the economy, we came across a technology that cools data centers with water instead of air, which means if you have 30 to 40% of CO2 emissions coming from construction, right? Mm-hmm. And you find a technology that cools with water, which liquid. Today within the AI field is just, oh my God, of course we would cool with liquid. What else? But we were writing the year 2014, 15, right? And we wanted to build, and we actually ended up building a data center for the largest data center for Google in Hanau in Frankfurt. It was us. It was the NDC data center. It was a company that I co-founded together with others that used this cooling with water. Why is that important in terms of CO2 emission? Because if you cool with water, you need less construction, you need less room because air needs to circulate in order to cool. So it's there, right there, 50% less energy need, 50% construction and maintenance and so on. Zero understanding in Germany. I don't know how much we fought in order to be able to finally build this. It came in on TV, Google data base, in Germany. But then we exited because there was no one. Why do we need data centers? And the green meme jumped on us, like why? And what do we need data centers? Now we know. And the problem is not even that we don't have data centers. It's not even this. People talk about GPUs, and they're all going that they're not enough. Elon Musk just built his Colossus with 500,000 GPUs to upgrade to 1 million early 2026. And we didn't even continue building data centers that cool with water. So this is just another example of how the German culture and all this no, it's not good. Why do we need digitalization? Why do we need data centers? Why do we need to build a smart grid? But that's the mindset here. So that's the mindset in Germany. And my son grew up in California, but he's also lives in Germany. And he's very reluctant to start something new. He wants it, but the environment is not supportive.
Yeah.
And of course, the United States is my hero, used to be, but now the political landscape has changed. It's very difficult and very difficult for non-Americans to really engage at that level, and which is fortunate. But what gives me hope is that people who get it, like the ones that we mentioned, Proxima Fusion, and Kipu, and you guys, and everyone, the Roofline, are working behind the scenes. And so we should not be detracted or distracted by what's in the media. Because, don't ever read that. Don't listen to it. Just focus on those who do the work. But one of the biggest issues that we currently have, which is really a big problem, is the energy. It's not the GPUs. Is the energy to feed the data centers. Because come back to Colossus, he built this data center, that needs 1 gigawatt, data center. But where is the energy going to come from? And if you trust Eric Schmidt, who said America will need by 2030 92 gigawatts of energy in addition to the normal economic need, that's a big problem. Why? Just to give people an example, a city of, I don't know, maybe 10 million needs 1 gigawatt of energy to operate, in terms of energy. Now, in order to build a nuclear power plant that produces 1 gigawatt, you need 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you get the resources, the people to build 92 in 5 years? Just to give you, and now it's not just the normal transformation that we need and the energy, for all the precision fermentation, all the food that we talked about, but the AI that eats up all the energy. Yep. Also in order to provide some transformation. So it remains interesting.
Yeah, and going back to the question, because the mindset and the culture is in a specific way in countries like, let's call it Europe then instead of a country. In Europe, I feel it as well. But then you look at China, and the political landscape again is what it is. It's like, but they know how fast they need to be, and they are super fast, it seems. So it's like, am I in the wrong place? Like, how can we make Europe better, faster, get out of the comfort zone? I have no idea, but I just wanted to know that what was your take on it. But
Well, the good news is that the capital that Europe is missing now comes increasingly from Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. So I'm an investor in Quant, the German company, and so they are an investor in, Cherry Ventures got their capital from Qatar, and so there is a lot of capital flowing into the, how should I say, the startup landscape in Europe. So that's good. And I think we need to keep going in this direction. And I see so many of my friends going to these countries and helping them develop, because this is what they need from us. And so, yes, it's a different cultural environment, particularly for women like me, so I don't look at it with ease, but it is transforming, and they do have the capital. The other thing that I think that gives me hope, and not only China gives me hope too, because they, in terms of climate change, and they got it. And because of the political system, they are doing the right thing, because the mindset of the government is in the right direction with respect to climate and what needs to be done. So they are really transforming in this direction. So that's good news. And given the economic power of China and their climate mindset, I think that gives me hope.
That's good.
Coming back to where we started.
Yeah.
And but in terms of UAE and Saudi Arabia and that Middle East area, they have dealt with hot climate ever since their existence. And so, yes, they're taking a lot of oil out of the earth, which should rather be there. But in the transition, they are applying this capital to a good goal, and they're helping Europeans and companies like the ones that we mentioned and others. And also they're building all this line. We can think about the line whatever we want. The new project there. That's exactly the city of the future. Imagine we don't get the climate transformation, get it around. This is the future. This is the kind of city in which we will all have to find a way to live. So they're basically leaders in that field. And I know this is crazy, but if we really join forces, and this is my invitation for all of us, if there is anything that you question or don't like, or let's talk, let's continue the conversation, because we need to find solutions that may not be here now, but together we can come up with them. Join forces. So there is no other way.
Yeah. If that's not the perfect message to end up the interview, I don't know what that is. Thanks a lot for coming, Mariana, and for calling me young so many times, because I don't feel like that. And thank you for your kindness and your generosity and your openness always to share your knowledge. It's super appreciated.
Well, thank you very much. And I hope, let me know if we want to redo this, given the confusion that I might have put across. Thank you.
Of course, I will ask you for the next year. So anyway,
okay,
thanks a lot.
Thank you.